there are some pressing issues we had to take care of. So please accept my apology on behalf of myself and my colleagues. Is there a motion to approve the journal for the meeting of May 7th?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The journal is approved. Enrollment of bills. Bill 26-18 was passed by the council, signed by the acting county executive, and hereby enrolled. The bill was returned unsigned by the acting county executive. Is still enrolled. As chairman of the Baltimore County Council, and on behalf of the council colleagues, it is my honor and privilege to deliver today's budget message for fiscal year 2019. But I do so with a range of emotions due to recent events. The optimism that often comes with the budget message is severely tampered this year. It is tampered by unimaginable loss. I don't know how we as a county have ever had to suffer through what we had to suffer through in the last couple of weeks. Just 3 days ago, we lost a young, energetic Baltimore County police officer, Officer Amy Caprio, a 4-year veteran of the police department stationed out of Parkville, who was killed in the line of duty Monday afternoon after responding to a suspicious vehicle in Perry Hall. She was only 29 years old. 4 teenagers have been arrested and charged in connection with her death. I have mixed emotions of anger and sorrow, and my heart breaks for the family and the life cut short. At the same time, I try to wrap my head around how something like this happens. I can't help but wonder, what were these and other juveniles that seem to be committing more and more crimes are thinking? Or simply, are they not thinking? Not thinking of others, not thinking of consequences. It defies explanation. She was named Officer of the Month for Parkville Precinct in December and had a bright future ahead of her. So please join me in keeping Officer Caprio and her family in our prayers. And although it has now been 2 weeks since the passing of my good friend and our county executive, Kevin Kamenetz, his death is still at the forefront of an extremely difficult time. At 60, he also left us much too early. The government continues to run and perform its duties for our citizens. That is job number 1. Grass gets mowed from county parks and fields. Trash is still picked up each week. Potholes are filled. Permits are issued for various construction projects. Development plans are reviewed by various county agencies. Code and building inspectors continue to be out in the field. Our first responders are out there keeping us safe, and business is still being done in Baltimore County. But make no mistake, there is and continues to be a profound void in the county that will not soon be replaced. These are uncharted waters here in Baltimore County. We have never before had to deal with the suddenness and the grief that goes with losing the county executive so tragically. I doubt things will truly be back to normal for some time. For some things may never be the same. As it is with many of you, this loss is very personal. Kevin Kamenetz was a person I spoke with often, almost daily. If not talking, we were texting each other. and was someone whose advice I sought and relied on. He was my friend, and I was happy to be one of his most ardent supporters. I learned a great deal from dealing with him about politics and how to get things done. He taught me to look at things that would not only benefit my district, but also not to lose sight of the bigger picture, the greater good for Baltimore County. He was a no-nonsense leader. Some might say brash and perhaps a bit too confident. Maybe that's true. But he was also a man who saw the best and the brightest days for Baltimore County and the state of Maryland ahead. He was also looking forward and tried to find creative ways to make life in Baltimore County better for all of us. I will miss him terribly, and I wish him Godspeed in heaven. To his wife Jill and sons Carson and Dylan, please know that our thoughts and prayers are with you. I know that you still grieve and mourn this tremendous loss, the loss of a husband and father, but also know that there will be better days ahead. Especially for Carson and Dylan, the legacy of your father will be for each of you to go on and live a good, productive life. That will help keep his memory going. You will have the love and support of so many people whose lives your father touched to help you achieve your goal. And so, my friends, it is with a heavy heart I deliver this morning budget message. Today, for fiscal year 2019, we adapt a total operating budget of almost $3.3 billion, which includes a general fund budget of just over $2 billion, and a capital budget of just over $71 million. We adopt the budget and fund the government for this fiscal year, once again holding the line on property and income tax rates. Normally people clap when I say that, but that's okay. This also means, though, that once again we are striving to provide our residents with the services they need and desire, but with limited financial resources. Fortunately, the county has maintained its AAA bond rating, which will allow us to borrow funds at the least or the lowest interest rate for projects that are necessary to improve facilities and infrastructure and enhance the quality of life for our residents. Perhaps the most important area where the county has leveraged this bond rating and financial might is in public education. It is no secret that the education of our children is one of the most, if not the most, important responsibility of local government. In fact, the Maryland Constitution requires a thorough and efficient system of public schools, including maintenance of those schools. Not only have we funded public education well above maintenance of effort levels on the operational side, we have also continued the massive capital investment initiated by Kevin Kamenetz and approved by the County Council during this past term. You may remember when County Executive Kamenetz and several members of this council took office in late 2010. The effects of the severe recession was being felt throughout the country. And we felt those effects here in Baltimore County as well. The housing bubble had burst, job growth was minimal, wages were stagnant, and county revenues were in steep decline. And at that same time, we were confronted by the challenge of one of the oldest inventories of school buildings in the state. We were faced with the inconsistency of having great, high-achieving schools, but also having many school buildings that were overcrowded and in disrepair. A solution to this problem required a bold response. Parents were demanding, and rightfully so, that county government take aggressive action to solve the school overcrowding problem. Aging buildings, and lack of central air conditioning in schools throughout the county. It would have been easy and probably the politically safe approach to add a few projects each year and make symbolic gestures that the county was tackling this problem. But it would have solved the problem of overcrowding schools and schools with no air conditioning? Of course not. Did county executive cabinets and the members of the county council settle for symbolism? Definitely not. Instead, the county executive and the council made the bold and unprecedented investment in education with the Schools of Our Future program. Aside from that time when many of our schools originally were built in the 50s and 60s, the county had never proposed such an aggressive capital program for school renovation and new construction. The numbers were incredible. 7 years ago, 80% of our schools were more than 40 years old. Many were in disrepair, and 90 schools had no air conditioning. In response, the council and the county voters approved the executive plan to invest $1.3 billion into renovating and air conditioning old schools, as well as building new ones in the course of less than a decade. In fact, by next year, only 8 schools will lack central air conditioning. And in the past 5 years, 16 schools will either have been built or under construction or being designed. In addition, this renovation of our schools has not just occurred in a few areas. It has taken place in all areas of the county based on overall need. It includes the opening of new elementary schools this coming school year to alleviate overcrowding in the southwest area with a new Lansdowne Elementary School, the northeast area with a new Victory Villa Elementary and Honeygo Elementary, and in the southeast area with a new Dundalk Elementary that is in progress and will open next year. What makes this undertaking all the more amazing is the fact that until recently, we as residents of this county largely had to go it alone, without much help from the state. The county forward funded most of the acceleration of renovating and building new schools without a firm commitment on reimbursement of those dollars from the state. It has been easy for state officials, especially in election years, to talk the talk, which we were here in Baltimore County, we had to walk the walk on school construction, advancing all the funds needed to accomplish these projects. Over the last few years, 2 high-ranking state officials in particular have decided to politicize our schools by offering criticisms on the pace of new construction and renovations without any worthwhile solutions, or more importantly, without additional monies to further accelerate these projects. To put this in perspective, from fiscal years 2011 to 2018, the county has forward funded $171.5 million in expected state receivables. These fiscal years, 2018 to 2019, the state approved funding of $129.2 million, with that amount pending final approval by the state at the end of this month. That still leaves a current balance of $48 million due to the county, and doesn't even take into consideration that the county continues to forward fund these projects. I would hope that next year, after all the political dust has settled, the state will authorize a full reimbursement of state dollars and the county has advanced. I also hope the county's delegation of senators and delegates will make this issue a priority in 2019. We have been We have also been fully supportive of the operational side of education funding. In today's FY 2019 budget, we once again fund the public school system above maintenance of effort levels. In fact, this year, we provide funding at more than $25 million above maintenance of efforts allowed to Baltimore County Public Schools to fund its educational programs and a full complement of teachers. We also approved an $8 million increase investment in school safety countywide, including additional support personnel such as psychologists, social workers, guidance counselors, and behavior intervention positions, as well as an expansion of the county's school resource officer program for 19 additional police officers in schools. Make no mistake, the education of our children is vitally important, and we intend to finish what Kevin Camus and this council started with Schools for Our Future. But there is a financial uncertainty ahead. We have invested heavily in education and in facilities, but we are at a point now where difficult decisions will have to be made in the not too distant future. We need to take politics out of these decisions and do what is in the best interest for our kids and for the county as a whole. But I'll cut right to the chase. Are the communities in the areas such as Lansdowne and Delaney in need of new high schools? Of course. Does Towson need a new high school? Absolutely. Are there still areas that are dealing with school overcrowding and projecting even more overcrowding in the future? The answer is yes. Can we afford to address all of these needs under the current budget framework? That answer simply is no, we can't. As my colleagues, Councilman Quirk has said, the credit card is just about maxed out. Therefore, we as responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars need to pump the brakes and not jump into planning for new high schools right now, especially when we can't assure the funds will be there for the construction phase of these projects. This includes $30 million in existing funds in the capital project for the planning and design of 2 future high schools. Instead, we need to allocate these monies to more immediate needs and allow planning decisions of that financial magnitude to be made by the next county executive and the next Board of Education, in consultation, of course, with the county council. That is the responsible and prudent thing to do. It is by no means kicking the can down the road. It is just the opposite. Rather, it is not making promises we cannot guarantee and not raising the hopes for the sake of political gain. Although we have invested heavily in our school system and the community college of Baltimore County, we have also continued to be very supportive of the economic vitality of this county as a whole. We need sensible development projects in the county, especially good redevelopment projects. These provide much needed private investment, which when completed, give our residents new amenities and in some cases span entirely new industries. That also results in tax revenues for the county, which in turn provides the dollars we need for school construction and for the services our citizens have come to expect. Our economic investment includes the ongoing redevelopment at Trade Point Atlantic, the 3,100-acre industrial site located on the former steel mill property at Sparrows Point in Dunbar. FedEx, Under Armour, Amazon, Faisa Automotive, and Rural Farms have opened. and are in the process of opening facilities at the site. The MTA has reestablished bus routes to the site, linking prospective employees to jobs. The Community College of Baltimore County is partnering with TradePoint to house training programs under the umbrella of a Center for Transportation, Distribution, and Logistics Training. Economic development also continues at a rapid pace in other areas of the county. This includes the Metro Center, the transit-oriented development in Owings Mills, which is in my district. New tenants there include World of Beer, Club, Palisades, and the Metro Wine and Spirits, and a new 4-story Class A office building that has just opened with Salantra Select Suites. This is a 24-hour salon, signing a lease for 11,000 square feet of that space. A $20 million renovation of the shops at Kenilworth is nearly complete, and the Towson Commons site continues its renaissance, and tenants such as CVS, Chipotle, Brown Rice, Korean Grill, Hair Cuttery, and most recently, Insomnia Cookies. The Circle East project in Towson on the Circle at Joppa and York Road is a $30 million investment scheduled for completion next year, which will further transform the former Hustler site into a new destination that will include retail space and 371 luxury apartment units and a storage facility. The Maryland 43 area, extending from Eastern Boulevard and Middle River to the White Marsh area, is also in the midst of development. If you haven't driven through this area recently, you owe it to yourself to go there. It has become transformed from a huge stretch of undeveloped industrial land into an attractive mix of commercial, retail, and residential uses. The most recent project there, Greenleaf at the Crossroads, is finishing 2 new office buildings with tenants including Pole's Island Brewing Company, Spring Hill Suites, and Black & Decker new tool division headquarters. It is becoming almost a town unto itself. I'm especially excited about the future of the old Owings Mills Mall becoming redeveloped into the new Mill Station. This is a new 575,000 square foot, $108 million signature development that embraces the new model of an open-air shopping destination. It is currently being anchored by Costco, which is a 148,000 square foot warehouse club center, and will feature national, regional, and local retailers, a variety of dining options, ample parking, green space, and pedestrian-friendly walkways. When it is completed, I look forward to seeing this redevelopment stand tall with Metro Center and Foundry Road, which is what I call the triple crown of Owings Mills and the future downtown Owings Mills. When I think about these exciting new developments in our communities, I am also reminded of one of the county council's most positive attributes. And the legislative branch of county government, not only are we the fiscal watchdog of the county's finances, but as members of the council, we are fortunate to have the closest connection with the people we represent. Probably more than any other elected officials. We're out there in the neighborhoods in which we live. We go to the same grocery stores, retail stores, and restaurants. We attend many civic associations, meetings, and community events at schools and senior centers throughout the year. And we learn day to day about what is important to those we represent. Especially over the past year, we have listened to our communities and implemented a number of policy initiatives that have improved lives and made your government more transparent and accessible. Last summer, we passed legislation aimed at holding county government officials and lobbyists to a higher standard. We approved a bill that requires county elected officials and department heads, as well as registered lobbyists, to undergo yearly training on the county's public ethics law. In order to be sure that politics and funding are not part of the comprehensive zoning map process, we also formalized our long-standing practice of not allowing members of the county council to accept campaign contributions during the year-long zoning process cycle. More recently, in order to give our residents a better opportunity to participate in public hearings for projects that may affect their communities, we strengthened the notice requirements for public zoning hearings. The law now requires that notice of a hearing be posted on the county's website at least 15 days prior to a scheduled hearing, and that 2 signs be posted on the property instead of just 1. That there be an additional certification to show that the sign was on the property for the required 20 days before the hearing, and that the sign be at least there 2 feet by 3 feet in size. We also mandated that the administrative law judge cannot consider a petition for zoning relief unless the petition is in compliance with the notice requirements. This issue was of particular concern to our communities, who often voiced frustration that the hearings would proceed even when they were unaware that the hearing was scheduled. We also passed a bipartisan bill to give our residents more input into the county's budgetary process. This bill requires the county executive to hold at least 2 public hearings in separate geographical areas of the county prior to submitting the budget to the county council. We believe these measures will encourage our constituents to participate in this all-important budget process. In 2016, county voters overwhelmingly approved a change to the county charter to authorize a charter review commission every 10 years. This past year, the first charter review commission pursuant to that change was formed. The commission was chaired by former county executive Ted Dennis-Toulis, spent most of our last spring and summer studying the charter provisions and needing to consider and discuss possible changes. Last November, the commission submitted its report and recommendations. This past month, the council passed several bills recommended by the commission to change the charter. In addition to a number of technical changes to update the language of the charter, we passed several substantive changes, including extending the life of a bill from 40 days to 65, and requiring the county executive appointed department heads to be confirmed by the council at the beginning of each term. The bills were passed will not be on the ballot. The bills we passed will now be on the ballot questions, and the county voters ultimately will decide at the general election on November 6th whether to approve these changes. As part of the fiscal year 2019 budget we approved today, we have cut $4 million from the budget. We take this step to keep the budget within the spending affordability guidelines. The county council established the spending affordability guidelines in 1990 so that the level of county spending is consistent with the economic growth of the county. During our budget review, we found that proposed budget was above the affordability guidelines with the inclusion of a $4 million credit from a one-time expense against maintenance of effort education spending. A credit that was denied by the State Board of Education. Although the county has appealed that decision, the irony here is very thick.